Welcome to The Future of Care, the podcast that brings you insights and developments from companies in the tech sector that are making an impact on how we use technology to care for the elderly in our society, whether aging in place or in care home communities. And now for your host, UK Sales Director for Vayyar, a leading fall detection and smart health solution, Stuart Barclay.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our next podcast. I'm Stuart Barclay from Vayyar Care in the UK. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce Christopher from Incom. I've personally worked with Incom in previous roles, and certainly when I joined Vayyar in 2021, it was a case of one of my first phone calls was actually to the team at Incom. So Christopher, welcome. Thank you for sparing the time to talk to me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Stuart.
Just a quick introduction from yourselves, obviously who you are, Christopher, and also who are Incom.
My name is Christopher Courtenay. I'm working for Incom Systems based in West Yorkshire. My role is as a new business developer for Incom Systems, and as part of that role, it's bringing new technologies to the market and to our client base. My past life was working within education, where I was fortunate enough to be working with the company that was among the first to roll out biometrics to a mainstream audience. That was a challenge back then, but as soon as Samsung and Apple put biometrics on their mobile phones, overnight it became the accepted norm. I've now moved across to the care industry, and I'm finding my feet as the new business developer for Incom Systems, and it's an exciting time to be part of this industry. It seems to have been, how can I put it, it's been at a standstill for many years. The digital transformation that is fast approaching, I feel, is going to change the entire face of the industry, and it's a cracking time to be a part at this initial stage.
No, perfect, Christopher. You're absolutely correct, by the way, and you're leading me in perfectly, and you would think we would actually scripted this or something, but I'm going to take a step back, because obviously you're not from West Yorkshire yourself originally, and you just told me a story off air that I think is absolutely superb. So when you first moved up to the middle of the UK, as I would call it, what was your first job? What did you do?
Well, I needed a part-time job, and I was wondering. So I looked at working behind a bar, and I thought. So I took a job there, and I saw the guy doing the karaoke, and I thought, well, he looks to be having a lot more fun and earning a lot more money than me. So I invested my few pennies in a karaoke system, and for a couple of years went round the pubs and clubs of Yorkshire. Initially, even as a salesman, I must admit, when you stand up in front of an audience for the first time with a microphone in your hand, and I don't have the voice of a nightingale, but it all went well in the end, and I managed to save the pennies for my mortgage through that. So it was a worthwhile venture.
No, I think that's. I just think it's a really interesting story how we and it leads into care in the pandemic and all these things that we're going to talk about today. Right. Is that you obviously had a challenge, but you've seen a solution, and I think that's the important message I'm trying to get across there. So yeah, listen, we've been in a pandemic. We've talked off air, and we've talked over the last few months with yourself and your colleagues. But for people listening to the podcast, I mean, from Incom's perspective, where you're working with a lot of care home groups, ward and call solutions, etc., and integrating a lot of equipment together. I mean, how's it genuinely been for you?
Well, let me just give you a brief rundown of the history of Incom Systems. We were established in 1990. We've been working within the care industry for over 30 years. We are not tied to any one manufacturer, so subsequently we've had the opportunity to work with all the major manufacturers within this country, plus from those abroad. The staff here have a combined knowledge and experience of in excess of 200 years. Our technical manager and our service manager alone, 70 years combined experience between those two guys. And I often think from a company perspective, as we're not tied to any one company, the knowledge that we have is applicable to all manufacturers. For example, an engineer that works for Ford quite possibly can only work on Ford vehicles. So when a Volvo comes along and he opens up the bonnet, he goes, "What is this? I don't know anything about it." At Incom Systems, our skill set really lies in understanding the underlying technology and how we can then bring those together and provide joined up solutions for our clientele. So we are in effect a one-stop solutions provider.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Sort of going back to the question slightly, if you don't mind, Christopher, is that from the pandemic point of view, I was asking about Incom, but actually, what's your customers' feedback? Obviously you've stepped out the arena in a lot of ways to make sure that they're all right, and we all applaud everyone, and I say it in every single podcast, but we genuinely do. Everyone that works in care or needs care absolutely applaud what everyone's done, but just the pandemic for your customers and yourselves, how's it been?
It has been an absolute nightmare, to be quite frank, Stuart. I think stress levels have gone beyond 100%. If there was a higher than 100%, they certainly hit the roof. Staff shortages, which has put more stress on existing staff. People leaving the industry due to work pressures. Care in itself is up to press has been a very manual industry, depending on people to fill the roles where emerging technologies are now coming into play to alleviate that, and hopefully will allow people to focus more into other areas. But the pandemic as such has just been it's chronic issues. I don't think Brexit has helped either, where normally staff would be brought in from abroad to fill in these roles. So yeah, that has been without a doubt. Everywhere you go, people will tell you exactly the same thing. It's just been a nightmare.
Yeah, can I applaud you for your honesty, because we will get a lot of different answers there when we do these podcasts, and I like your honesty. I certainly have been lucky enough through the pandemic to not be on furlough myself in my previous role and in this role, and it's been it's been all right, but the challenges have been very, very tough.
Aye, very much so. In terms of just keeping the equipment in line, maintaining the systems, installations basically came to a halt. People were working with equipment that was ready to be renewed, but subsequently we just weren't able to get in there and resolve their issues. It's only really been these past few months that the doors have opened up to a degree to allow us to come in and rectify a number of situations. Of course, where there's been critical situations, we have gained access into the buildings and the facilities, so nobody's ever been left out there. And in some cases, where we've had to create workarounds through where various call systems maybe have become faulty, through our experience of dealing with various telephony systems, we've been able to offer workarounds using mobile devices where their internal phone systems perhaps have let them down.
Yeah, no, it's great, and please pass on the thanks to all your engineers that have been out there in the field. I think that the grassroots people are really, really important, Christopher. So obviously you've embedded Vayyar into one of your solutions moving forward, Vayyar Care. We'll come on to sort of fall prevention, and we'll look at care homes of the future and everything else. But what made you and your team choose Vayyar Care to bring it on board? What do you see the benefits of it?
We're continually looking for new technology that will improve the quality of lives for the people living within a care environment. One of the systems that we looked at recently was acoustic monitoring, for example. We found that it's still an underdeveloped technology, and feel that there's still a long way to go. I think there will be a place for it within the care community, but not right now. When we looked at Vayyar, it just seemed to working with Vayyar seemed to dovetail perfectly into the organisation that we are, in terms of combining systems and the interoperability of systems and bringing them together to provide a joined up solution for the end user. The fantastic, I mean, Vayyar itself as a company is certainly somebody we'd like to work with. They're established. The technology they use is tried and tested, as in with the 2D mammography for detecting breast cancer. So it's a solid company. They've got the backup to absolutely take the product forward. If there are any issues, we know we've got a fallback. We can say, hey Stuart, we've put it in this, we've come across this situation, we've managed to resolve this problem. We thought it may be useful for you guys as well. We can pass solutions that we find on back to yourselves if we come across them within the field. I think why choose Vayyar Care Fall Detection as a product? It was a no-brainer. No cords to pull, no buttons to press, and what I was really taken with was the fact that there's no intervention. Once it's installed and set up, that is it. You don't turn it on, you don't turn it off. It provides 24/7, 365 days away surveillance, which I think is incredible. Other products we looked at did require intervention, either from the end user themselves, and given some of the conditions that some residents are in, they may not remember to turn something on. They might not remember to wear their watch to bed or their pendant round their neck to bed. I mean, there were many reasons to choose Vayyar, but that as a company was the main reason that we've stepped in with you. It's an unobtrusive device, and as well as alerting staff to in the eventuality of a fall, it's the data it collects as well, the rich data it collects, which can then be used to modify the treatment or medication issues regarding that particular resident or patient. So that's
yeah, you're absolutely right, Christopher, and it sort of leads on to the sort of care home of the future stuff that we at Vayyar Care and Vayyar Imaging are actually looking at in a big way. As you know, and we talked about off air again, was we are presenting at the Lion Bilson event, Tech in the Care Home of the Future on the 2nd of March. We're also at the UK Telehealth event on the 15th of March, and moving on to the iTech conference. So March is a very busy month, and we believe in changing the face of care. Probably like yourself at Incom, we listen to our customers, we survey the customers, and sometimes surveys can be hit or miss, but actually the feedback we get and the engagement we get from them is very good. And some of the stuff we get, and you've mentioned that staff retention and staff recruitment is a big issue right now within all care sectors and other key vertical areas, don't get me wrong. But one of the things that came from it, and I've talked about it on podcasts before, is that person-centred care was a big driver, a huge driver. I think it was something, it's in the top 3 of the 3 objectives that they wanted to come out fitter and stronger from. And the other one was fall prevention. Now, remember that, and I suppose I better explain it for everyone, fall prevention, there's sort of, well, we'd like to say 4D, but I mean, there's 3 things that are really important in there. And that is obviously fall detection, fall intervention, and fall prediction. Fall prediction is you mean, it's huge, it's massive. And the 4th that we would like to see in there is that data that you mentioned. So it's analytical data, but that falls into fall prediction in a lot of ways. So you mean there is the 4 pillars there, as I mentioned, that we find that Vayyar is really important. We want to get to that fall prediction, full fall prediction. So yeah, we've got imminent bed exits and all these things, but I'm not going to go into try and sell Vayyar Care on this podcast. It's great. I would also employ you, Christopher. You've done a great job there just selling Vayyar, so thank you for that. So you're right. So why choose Vayyar? You've said virtual caregiver, data as a new doctor, you're offering choice. Interoperability's out the window. There's no, it's interoperable with every single social or care environment platform, which is fantastic. So listen, we really appreciate that, and for the listeners, that's the last of Vayyar's the best scenario, so my apologies. And we've talked about fall prevention, but really about the care home of the future, and this is us just thinking out the box, Christopher, and using your knowledge of being in the industry for so long, and Incom, 200 years of experience. I don't know if there'll be a nurse call system in a care home in the future. I don't know if a ward and call system will be there in the future. And I suppose the bigger question is, when you're looking at all these other solutions out there and always being ahead of the game, as I would put it, where does Samsung and Apple and Amazon and all these people fit in the care home of the future, or care of the future?
I think, again, up to press, the longevity of the systems has kept the marketplace very small for manufacturers. I think this upcoming digital transformation is going to, a lot of people are going to go, what's happening here? This is a new market we've never looked at, we've never considered. And I think we're on the verge, as I mentioned earlier, of an emergence of a lot of IoT coming into the market. Care homes of the future are going to be totally different, in my view, to what we're seeing today. I think that the introduction of new technology to assist in the monitoring of patients, of the residents, will allow their actual staff to spend time and focus more on what they are meant to do, which is spending time with the residents and with their patients. Care homes of the future are going to be a very, very different thing, and I think for those companies that aren't willing to get on board, that want to remain the same, will be like the likes of Kodak. They ruled the world for God knows how many years, but they didn't get on board with digital technology. They're nowhere to be seen. Blockbuster Video, another one, nowhere to be seen. Maybe they will make a re-emergence, as with vinyl records, sometime in the future, when people want to look back and consider what they enjoyed in the past. But I think very much so, Stuart. It will be interesting to see what the likes of Apple and Samsung do, because it's a huge market. And I think we also, especially in the UK, we are living in a society with an ageing population. The care market is going to explode. The demand for care is huge. It's rising year on year. And I think there aren't going to be the people to staff the facilities to look after the residents. So the fallback is technology. And I think whereas before there's been a reluctance to embrace technology within the care sector, and I do put that down to manufacturers. I think they've ridden on their laurels for far too long. And now this has come along and it's going to shake them up in a big way. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think you're quite right. Will we still see nurse call and warden call systems out there? If we do, I think they will take on a different perspective. And there's so much that can be done with those systems, but it's up to those manufacturers to invest in their staff and to bring new innovative ideas to the sector. So yeah, very much so. It's, as I said at the beginning, it's a great time to start a career within care, because we are on the start of something that is going to be absolutely huge, and it's going to affect everyone. It affects me. I have a family member that is living in care, and I find it quite frightening, some of the things the methods that they use, but there isn't an alternative. Well, now we're starting to bring alternatives to the market, and I think, as with everything else, once they become tried and tested, people will take it for the norm. So yeah, very exciting days ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks, Christopher. Obviously bringing new products in. You working with one of our joint partners in Incom, who actually are probably changing the face of care in a lot of way with their modular building blocks, and not just nurse call and all these things. And for those that have seen the other podcast, we've got one with Stephen Kavanagh there just now. that you can watch, and then you've got Acryla, who are new to the marketplace, that again are changing the face of care in a lot of ways, and how care homes at this time are working with a wireless nurse call solution. Legrand Care have got a great platform in what they use in their TouchSafe Pro nurse call system. Tunstall have got another great offering, and Tunstall have moved more towards the person-centred care delivery, where it's wearables, potentially Vayyar and all these other sensors as well, and not so much boxes on walls. And I think that's, you can see the shift, but there's obviously a lot of commercial discussions need to be made, and choices need to be made by these manufacturers. You're absolutely correct, but there's only a few people that can actually change that, and that's the customers, the residents, and say what they want to see. And that's why I'm really looking forward to the Lang Bilson event on the 2nd of March. And certainly when I'm at care shows and the dementia care show and everything else, I love hearing from care home operators, care home users, care users, in fact, just overall, and seeing how not just Vayyar Care technology, but other people's technologies are supporting them to help them to live a more independent and easy life, if that makes sense. But I go back to that all comes with challenges. So if you Incom are integrating things, they're interoperable, you take that interoperability issue away completely for all your customers, you are end-to-end solutions.
Correct.
That must come with its challenges, Christopher.
It does, and I think we're blessed to have a fantastic technical department, as I say, linked to our service department. Challenges are opportunities, really, how to overcome them, and that's that is where we excel, to be fair, Stuart. We can look at a problem, and it's sometimes, some people have a natural flair for things, a natural gift. My brother can take a pen and a paper and we'll be chatting away, and within 10 minutes there's a perfect caricature. I take a pen and a paper, 10 minutes later it looks like a scribble. He has a natural flair for it. We are very fortunate to have some excellent staff working for us, working with us. And if they hit a dead end, they turn around and I'll look for another avenue to go down to resolve that issue. And we've done it time and time again. And it's greatly appreciated by our clients.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You need that. So there is challenges, but you embrace them basically, because you educate yourselves in-house and externally as well. So no, that's absolutely fantastic. I love the fact that your whole family is arty, so you can sing on karaoke, your brother can draw caricatures. I see another business coming here, Christopher.
Well, not exactly the Von Trapp family, but we rub along. Yeah, we have other talents.
So let's watch out, and I say it first here. Britain's got I can't even remember it. Britain's Got Talent. There we go. I can't even remember it myself. No, fantastic. Christopher, I'm not going to grill you anymore, because I think that it's quite hard to do these podcasts. And when you work in an industry that you do work in and we work in, sometimes it goes unrecognised that we're just doing what we do, and I think it's important for me to say to your whole team at Incom is, first of all, thank you for everything you've done during the pandemic to all your customers, because at the end of the day we make a difference to the residents that are using these devices, and furthermore I look forward to the pilots that we've got running, rollouts, pilots for customers at the end of the day. We've got them going in just now as well, which is fantastic. The partnership that you have with Panacea Healthcare Group as well, Billy and his team, up and down the country, and what we can offer nationally is absolutely fantastic. So please pass on our thanks to Craig, Bob, and Alan.
Will do.
Appreciate everything they've done, and there's more people in Incom than just them. And listen, we look forward to doing another podcast in the future. where we look at the successes of maybe 6 months on and 12 months on, where your customers have come out fitter and stronger from this pandemic. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned. I think Incom have probably learned quite a lot as well, as Vayyar have during the pandemic. So a massive thank you to you, Christopher.
Thank you very much.